On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, the moment so many of us have been waiting for has finally arrived. General production of the Cybertruck has begun. Plus, Tesla announced its Q3 vehicle production and delivery numbers, the Model 3 has a new base version, and more. What's happening, friends? I'm Brian McCaffrey, joining you alongside Daisy the Boxer to my left, and immediately below me, sleeping at my feet, is mine of the future service dog puppy. Welcome to your weekly Tesla unofficial podcast. Yes, it's Ride the Lightning. This is episode 479, publishing on October 6th, 2024. And as usual, I'm recording it on Friday evening. That's October 4th. And as I sit here recording, it was less than 24 hours ago that Tesla began taking orders for general production Cybertrucks. So we have to start right there. There is no bigger news this week. Truth be told, I already had what I felt like was a pretty meaty show for you guys prepared this week. And then Thursday evening, October 3rd, at about 8:30 p.m. Pacific, I got a text from a friend and boom, letting me know that Cybertruck general production orders have begun. We've got a lot to dig into here, but I want to start with the answer to the big question that I've been wondering aloud about on this podcast for a long time now. That question was, will Tesla honor the $7,000 full self-driving price for those early Cybertruck reservation holders? The answer, as I had hoped and expected it would be, is yes. So that is great news. Good on Tesla for doing the right thing here. Now, one other point on this topic before I move on to all the other information, we got a lot to get to here. I would presume that if you order FSD on an early reservation Cybertruck after delivery, the price would go back up to $8,000. And the reason I say that is because that's how it was back when I ordered my car in 2018. And you might think, well, Ryan, what does that have to do with anything? 2018 is a long time ago. And you're right. But back then, it was $3,000 to add on FSD to my $5,000 enhanced autopilot order as I was ordering and configuring the car. But if I waited until delivery, Tesla specified right on the Design Studio page that it would be $4,000 for that FSD add-on after delivery. So I bring that up because I've been staring at the Design Studio page for Cybertruck, and it doesn't say that. It just has the $8,000, and it has a strike-through line through it, and it says $7,000 for early reservation holders. So is it still going to be $7,000 for some time after delivery? I can't imagine it's going to be forever, but is there going to be a period of time where you can still elect to add that for $7,000 after delivery? Or is it the case where the only way you can get it for that discounted $7,000 price is to order it with the truck right away, and that it'll go back up to the regular price after delivery? And unfortunately, the answer is I don't know, because I really feel like this isn't just for me. I mean, this would be valuable information for a lot of us to know. I mean, for me specifically, I want to know, because if I might decide if it's 7 either way, if it's 7 after delivery, then I might elect to take delivery of it without FSD and just save some money for a few months and add it later to have a lower car payment. And I'd also talked about my little strategy some number of episodes back about how I could just put the whole $7,000 on my credit card with a percentage cash back and get like a decent little chunk of money back on what would be $7,000. So I'd like to know, and I suspect a lot of you would like to know, I tweeted this at the head of the autopilot team at Wes Morrill, the lead Cybertruck engineer. I tagged the Tesla account, and I tagged the Cybertruck account, which is pretty active, whoever's running the @Cybertruck account. I have not received a response. I hope maybe this will get asked at the earnings call coming up in a couple weeks, which I'll tell you more about that a little. That was the lead topic on this week's show until last night. And now that's pushed down a couple stories here, so I'll get to that later. But I do hope that somebody, either an analyst or once the say.com retail shareholder questions are opened up for people to vote on and upvote, that somebody will ask that question, because I think that is, I mean, it's a $1,000 question. It's a $1,000 question that a lot of us would like to know the answer to. Okay, let's continue on with Cybertruck general production. Here's the next big question that is now answered, and that is options pricing. And here, unfortunately, at least for me, maybe you had different numbers in your head, so you won't say unfortunately, but for me, the two options are a good bit more than I had personally been predicting and expecting. So I was correct. I mean, it was pretty obvious. I don't take any credit here. The core wheels with all-season tires is the default. That's the base wheel and tire set that you get. And then the tactical gray interior decor, that's the standard interior color. So as expected, it's the Cyber wheels with the all-terrain tires and the white interior decor that are premium options that will cost you a bit more money. As for how much, the Cyber wheels with the all-terrain tires are going to cost $3,500 more. Now, as listener Drew pointed out on X, as I was putting my notes together and commenting on this on social media, it would actually cost you less money to buy the Cyber Wheels winter tire package from Tesla for $3,000. And by the way, that $3,000 is installed. It's everything except tax. So $3,000 for that installed. And then you could have two sets of wheels if you wanted to do it that way. You'd have a core with the all-season tires, and then if you want those winters with the Cyber wheel covers, you can throw those on your truck if you want to do it that way. As for the white interior decor, that is a $2,000 option. Now, the wheels and tires, I'm not really going to quibble with, even though I thought it might. I was thinking it was going to be $2,000, maybe $2,500. It's $3,500. But I thought that the white interior decor would be no more than $1,000. And $2,000 feels steep to me, considering that white interior costs $1,000 in a Model 3 or Model Y, and it's $2,000 in an S or an X, but in any of those four cars, you get white seats in addition to the other white interior trim pieces. So I'm a little disappointed in that one. Is it going to stop me from ordering it? No, I just really like the white decor. I think it breaks up the interior of the truck, which is otherwise completely black. So for me, I'm in on the white decor. I've never been out. I don't know what the price would have needed to be for me to be out on the white decor, but I'm in, even though it's more money than I was hoping for. So, what else can I tell you? Here, how about this? These option prices now give retroactive context to the Foundation Series pricing. So if you bought a Foundation Series Cybertruck, this could be of just interest to you. And if you didn't, well, this will be of interest as well, because now you'll know exactly how much more or less you did or didn't pay. So the original Foundation Series configuration, before they opened it up and added more options, so in dual motor, you got the white decor and you got the Cyber wheels with all-terrain tires. That was a $100,000 truck for dual motor for Foundation Series. Now, that same configuration is $92,500. And the Cyber Beast in that same configuration was, of course, $120,000 for Foundation Series. Now it's $112,500. Although, I guess actually both are really, it would really be more than that for a true apples to apples comparison. More than that, I mean on the base price, not the Foundation series. Obviously, Foundation was a set price. But it actually really would be more because I'm leaving out a number of smaller accessories that do add up a bit. You have the all-weather floor mats that the Foundation series comes with, the sunshade for the roof, the glass roof, a $2,500 voucher credit in the Tesla shop, and a wall connector. So you got a lot of stuff there. So, in fact, according to an ex-user named D. Krasny, the total value, this person went and added it all up, now that we have the options pricing for general production trucks, the total option value of what you get in Foundation series is worth $15,695, although, as I responded to D. Krasny, and he responded back acknowledging it, I would even argue, I think pretty fairly here, that we could add another $1,000 to that Foundation series package value because of the free lifetime premium connectivity that comes with the Foundation series that works out to $1,000 of value over a decade. And I think it's fair. Okay, it's a very tough HFS truck. Most people, or a lot of people, probably will keep it for a decade. So $1,000 there. So if we do that, if we add another $1,000 for the value of the lifetime premium connectivity, that takes us to $16,695 worth of Foundation series value, meaning that Foundation series buyers really only paid about a $3,300 premium to be one of the first people to get the single most talked about vehicle in years and years and years. To say decades might be hyperbole, but it might not. So I'll just say in many years. I'll just leave it at that. So you paid about a $3,300 premium to be the first one on the block to get a Cybertruck. Okay, while we're talking pricing, as we already knew would be the case, there is currently at least one configuration of the Cybertruck that should, asterisk, qualify for the $7,500 point of sale federal tax credit. And that is the base dual motor configuration, meaning those core wheels with all season tires and the tactical gray interior. So I expect now that general production has opened that is going to be the lion's share of orders, will be that exact configuration that'll qualify for the credit. At least maybe more than half. I mean, it's just a guess. I'll never be able to know for sure. We're never going to get hard data on that. But I think it could be more than half of the orders are going to be that tax credit friendly configuration. Because if you do order that configuration, it would get you down to $72,500 out the door, ... once that trim is approved by the IRS to qualify for the tax credit. Because as of my recording time, the truck currently only qualifies for the $7,500 commercial tax credit. Now, the good news there is any trim, any configuration of Cybertruck qualifies for that. If you qualify, if your business qualifies for that $7,500 commercial tax credit. And the reason I say this is I just have to, hopefully by the time you hear this, the $7,500 tax credit for individuals will be a done deal, and by the time anybody takes delivery, they'll be able to get that price right off the lot, no problem. But for the moment, as of recording this, the IRS has not signed off on it, so it's almost certainly just a formality because, again, it's been less than 24 hours as I sit here since Tesla started offering the $79,990 version of the Cybertruck. So my expectation is that they will get sign-off from the IRS any day now. And again, probably before any of the deliveries begin. But keep an eye on it. That's all I'm saying is if you're ordering this truck, counting on that tax credit, meaning you're going to order that base version, no options, because you want that tax credit, just make sure that you're checking the design studio, the Cybertruck design studio, and I would double check the IRS website on that too to make sure. Next, we're far from done here. We're still talking general production Cybertruck. And why wouldn't we? Because this is a huge moment for so many of us. Let's talk range. Range estimates have been adjusted from what Tesla first gave us a year ago when the Foundation Series Cybertrucks first started rolling out. And the reason that these have been adjusted is probably, again, I don't know for sure, but it's probably in accordance with the EPA's tighter and, in fairness, also more accurate testing standards. So, the dual motor on the core wheels with all-season tires is rated at an estimated 325 miles of range. That's down from 340 of what we were told a year ago. The dual motor on the Cyber wheels with the all-terrain tires, 314 miles. Cyber Beast on core wheels with all-season tires, 320 miles. So not much of a drop-off at all there with that all-terrain tire, which speaks pretty well to that all-terrain tire, I guess, that Tesla custom-made with Goodyear. And then the Cyber Beast on the Cyber wheels with the all-terrain tires is rated at 301 miles, just eking over the 300 mark. The range extender, while we're talking about range, is still $16,000, and right on the general production Cybertruck Design Studio page, you can check a box to pre-order it for a $2,000 non-refundable reservation price. So 2 down, you don't get it back. The balance of 14 will be due upon installation. If I remember right, that non-refundable price has gone up a bit. I feel like it was maybe only $500 for Foundation Series orders, but don't quote me on that. I don't remember specifically. But the other key note here is that availability on the range extender has been pushed back again, this time to mid-2025 on that. The original estimate we were given last November at the Cybertruck launch event was late 2024 that is now turned into mid-2025, so a 6-month bump there. The range estimates on the range extender itself have also been updated. Again, no surprise, given that the base ranges were also updated. Tesla now says that the range extender will get you the following ranges: 447 miles for the all-wheel drive Cybertruck with the core wheels and all-season tires, 432 miles of range for the all-wheel drive version with the Cyber wheels and all-terrain tires, 441 miles for the Cyber Beast with the core wheel covers and all-season tires, and 415 miles for the Cyber Beast with the Cyber wheels and all-terrain tires there. So you are getting about roughly 130-ish miles for a lot of these, maybe a little less on a couple of the trims, but it's a lot of extra range. I mean, it is over 33% more range that you're getting for that 16 grand. So you're getting a significant chunk of extra range, and you are well clearing. I was trying to decide what word to choose there, and not all of them started to come out, so it sounded bad. It just sounded like a word garble. But yes, you will be well north of 400 miles of range, regardless of your configuration on your Cybertruck, if you are using the range extender. And the last piece that I want to talk about for the general production Cybertruck is availability. So when do the deliveries start? Orders are happening now. When do the deliveries start? Well, that depends a little bit on where you live, but they are starting general production deliveries this month. When I logged in to configure mine, and before you ask, no, I have not ordered mine yet. And the reason for that is because, as I've mentioned a couple of times before, my personal savings plan here, it was a 12-month plan that I started in January in order to build up what I think will be a big enough down payment to make my monthly payments palatable. So I'm only 9/12 of the way. I'm 75% of the way through my plan. I need some more time myself, so that's neither here nor there. But my delivery window when I log in to configure a general production Cybertruck currently shows as October or November. So it's an October-November range, and that's for both dual motor and if I check Cyberbeast, it shows the same thing, October-November. Now, if you did order already, you may have already gotten a VIN, because there were people posting online as soon as those general production Cybertrucks went live on the design studio and people started ordering. Some of you, some folks in Texas for sure that are close to the factory, got VIN numbers right away. So to me, that suggests, quite frankly, it suggests the obvious, which is that Tesla has been building general production trucks for at least a few days. Meaning, the fact that all this went down on Thursday night, October 3rd, tells me that I wonder if maybe as soon as Q4 started on October 1st, they switched over to general production. That would be my guess, but either way, maybe it extended back into the final hours of Q3. Maybe it's a week of production that they've got started up for general production. But in any case, the trucks are being built right now, and deliveries are going to start happening very, very soon. One last piece here. I was personally curious. This is one of those things that I think nobody but me cares about, but I was curious if Tesla would start over on the VIN numbers from VIN 1, meaning the first general production truck would be VIN 1. And the reason that I wondered that is because that's how it was with the Founder Series, Model S's and Model X's back in the day, and the Signature Series, Model S's and Model X's that followed the Founder Series. So there's Founders 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's Signature Series 1, 2, 3 on up to 1,000 in that case. And then general production started over again at 1. So, although fun fact, by the way, a friend of mine no longer has this vehicle, but a friend of mine had Model X Signature Series VIN number 2, which was pretty cool. And anyway, I did get the answer to this question. The answer is no. Tesla is not starting over with VIN 1 for general production. So that means we might never know what the exact VIN of the very first general production Cybertruck is, but it's somewhere in the 30,000s. That's about, maybe we'll get to narrow it in a little further than that, but it's somewhere in the 30,000s. And it's not going to start over at VIN 1. All right, well, there it is. General production Cybertrucks. I did hear from some folks, by the way, who have day one reservations that did not yet receive the email and are not yet able to log in to configure and order a general production truck yet. So that means only some of the day one folks are in so far. Although by the time you hear this, maybe it's opened up a little more. It's tough to know exactly how Tesla's going to roll this out. But I would not only stay tuned for an email, but I wouldn't even wait for the email. I would keep checking your account once a day. Why not? If you're wanting to order your general production truck as soon as you possibly can, and you have a day one Cybertruck reservation, I would just log into your account and check every single day and take a look. But the first batch has gone out, and that is just awesome, awesome news. Next up this week, more good news. The Model 3 got big news of its own this week, and this one is exactly as I predicted back when the long-range rear-wheel drive trim was technically reintroduced earlier this year because, as you may remember, the very first Model 3s that were made were all long-range rear-wheel drive cars, and some of you out there no doubt own a long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 from 2018, maybe even 2017. But anyway, As I predicted when the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 was reintroduced earlier this year, the base Model 3, that's the one with the China-sourced LFP battery pack that had disqualified the car from the $7,500 point-of-sale tax credit, well, that base model with the LFP pack has been eliminated, and the long-range rear-wheel drive is the new base model. Yes, the sticker price is higher on that car, $42,500 compared to $39,000 on the outgoing LFP car, but assuming most buyers of this version do qualify for the tax credit, that means, as we've been over before, it's $35,000 out the door versus $39,000 out the door for the old base model. So $35K out the door, of course, aside from any options that you might want to add on, like a paint color or white interior or wheels or something like that. Now, as I already covered back when this trim was reintroduced earlier this year, you are getting a better car in most respects. While it's necessarily not best to charge it to 100% every day, like it was with the LFP car, even at an 80% daily charge, which is in the healthy range, that's no problem. Go ahead and charge it to 80% every day and just charge it higher than that if you're going to need that range that day. But even at an 80% charge, that is still 290 miles of daily usable range of that 363 mile overall range battery pack, which obviously is well north of the 272 miles that a 100% charge gets you on that LFP car. And your acceleration is significantly better on this long-range rear-wheel drive, aka the new base model. You're under 5 seconds, 0 to 60, 4.9 seconds, versus the LFP car, which, as I recall, was in the high fives. Now, the one thing that isn't better on the new base model versus the old one is the sound system. It's the same sound system. So the rear-wheel drive cars, there's only one now, but for a time we had two. The rear-wheel drive Model 3s have fewer speakers in them than the all-wheel drive Model 3s do. Now, I personally have not heard the quote-unquote lesser system yet, so I can't really comment on what I think of it in comparison to the full speaker setup, but it's just something to be aware of as you're shopping so that you're not surprised in a bad way when you take delivery of the car and you're like, wait a minute, does this not have as good a sound system? Just make sure you know up front, because Tesla doesn't say that on the design studio, unfortunately. They don't specify that when you're ordering the car. Side note here, I would have to imagine that Tesla's going to have to get domestic LFP battery production sorted at some point, though, because I would suspect that the cheaper Model 2.5, as I've been calling it, not to mention the Cybercab, is probably going to exclusively use LFP batteries. I mean, back at Battery Day, that's pretty much what Tesla told us, was LFP was going to be the future because there's no nickel in it. It's very cheap to make. It has a very, very little degradation. It can be charged to 100%. I mean, the energy density is lower, so it takes up more space. You can't get, in the same amount of space, you can't have as much range in that space as you can with a nickel battery. But still, the LFP battery, I would think, is going to be a big part of Tesla's future plans on these lower cost models. But for the time being, the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 is now the base Model 3, just like it was, as I said, when the Model 3 was first introduced in 2017. So there's no more standard range. Standard range does not exist on a Model 3. Instead, that gap is likely to be filled in at a significantly lower price point once that aforementioned Model 2.5 rolls out in the next year or two. Next this week, I pivot now to, unfortunately, some not so good news. We got to get this in there because it's going to affect most of you. So I'm not just here to report the good stuff. Got to take the bad with the good. So the bad news is, unfortunately, at least for some of you who enjoy Slacker radio that plays your commercial-free music with a premium connectivity subscription, that Slacker radio is no longer going to be free with that premium connectivity subscription. I have to preface this by saying that Slacker was recently renamed to Live One, which is why you're about to hear Live One in these quotes that I'm going to give you and not Slacker. So, many of you probably got this email this week that said, starting December 1st, 2024, your Live One powered by Slacker radio account will no longer be included with your premium connectivity subscription. As of December 1st, 2024, Tesla will no longer subsidize Live One products to some of its customers. However, Live One will offer all Tesla customers discounted Live One music packages, the company said. Quote, the conversion opportunity has enormous upside by offering Tesla owners an opportunity to upgrade and have access on all devices at discounted priority pricing, said Robert Ellen, CEO of Live One. Tesla will continue to pay Live One monthly for grandfathered users in perpetuity. Well, call me an ignorant fool here, but I thought that this was a big part of what you were paying that $10 a month for the premium connectivity. Now you're paying that money for live traffic updates on your nav screen and some other certainly useful, but definitely ancillary features, stuff like live Sentry mode camera viewing. Now also, if I have this correct, come December 1st, even if you subscribe to premium connectivity, and then obviously if you don't, your Tesla won't come with any baked-in, out-of-the-box way to play music. Unless we're counting FM radio, which I guess we are. But there's no other music service. FM radio is going to be it, I think. I believe you're going to have to log in on Spotify Premium, which costs money, YouTube Music, that one's free, or just one of the other apps, Tidal or Amazon Music. One of these other ones, you'll have to log in or make an account on one of them in order to listen to music. That, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not thrilled about. I think that's not super great on Tesla's part. I'm going to hold their feet to the fire on this a little bit. I mean, I know me whining about it on the podcast isn't going to change their minds or anything, but I just think taking something away that was a nice feature that's been in the cars for years and years isn't great. Now, it's entirely possible, I recognize, that the data that Tesla absolutely has says that only a small percentage of people are using that Slacker/Live One music service. And so Tesla says, well, why should we keep paying for this? And honestly, I'm not sure what the data shows. I mean, I would find it'd just be a little hard to believe because, again, it's a direct way to listen to music when you hop into any Tesla. It's just right there for you. Now, it's also possible that Tesla is just doing this as a cost-cutting maneuver. We've seen them do this before to keep those margins a little higher. It's also highly likely that it's both, that they have the data to back it up, that not a lot of people are using it, and it's a cost-cutting thing. But either way, I'm not going to defend this. I'm certainly not going to defend them taking away something, but that said, I do have a very small data sample of my own, which might, in fact, kind of let Tesla off the hook a little bit. Again, not going to let them off the hook entirely, but I made this the subject of this week's Patreon poll. And I think I might have gotten more votes in this poll than I've ever gotten. 275 votes, which is, not an insignificant. I mean, I've got orders of magnitude more listeners than that, but it's 275 people voting that are all listeners of the podcast, that are all Tesla owners or enthusiasts. That's like a decent little sample size of folks. So the poll question this week, which, a reminder, every week you can vote in the Patreon poll. It's free. You don't have to be supporting me on Patreon. Just go to my Patreon page at patreon.com/Tesla podcast. The poll question usually goes up on Tuesday evening. And this week's question was, do you use the Slacker Radio /OneLive music service in your Tesla? And I'm going to be honest, I was surprised by the results because I am not in this group at all. 66%, a full 2/3 of respondents said, no, I don't use it. I use other things. And then I listed in parentheses Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, FM radio, etc. So 2/3 of you that voted here don't use the Slacker Radio. Then the next one was just 12%, which is the group I would be in. 12% of you voted, yes, I use it regularly. 10% of you said, yes, I use it, but pretty rarely. 7% of you said, yes, I use it sometimes. Just 1% of you said, I've used it, but I don't like it. And then 5% of you said, I don't own a Tesla yet. So I really do want to sincerely thank everybody that took the time to vote because these results were a bit eye-opening for me. So I think that really absolutely helps explain this move by Tesla. And at least the good news, the silver lining here is it sounds like not too many of you will be upset by this because you don't use it anyways. And that's fine, right? If they're taking something away that you don't use, you might still object to it because it was a thing you had that they're taking away. But maybe it won't really be a bother to you because you use other apps, other music apps and services in your car. I, for one, as I said, I'm in the group. I use this every day. Every time I'm in the car, the Slacker radio comes on and I use it all the time. And I'm very, very fortunate that I will retain mine. It's going to stick around for me because I'm in that grandfathered in group. Here's the Tesla frequently asked questions statement on that. They say all Tesla vehicles ordered on or before June 30th, 2018 will continue to have access to existing premium connectivity features at no cost for the life of the vehicle, excluding retrofits or upgrades required for any features or services externally supplied to the vehicle, such as a telecommunications network. As additional features and services become available in the future, you will have the opportunity to upgrade your connectivity plan. So that was the FAQ piece there. And for me, even though I didn't take delivery of my Model 3 until the end of July in 2018, because Tesla didn't start building the Model 3 Performance until July of 2018, I did configure and order my car in May of 2018. I actually don't recall the exact date, but it was May, I think it was late May. May of 2018 is when I ordered my car, so I just made it under the wire. And as I said, I'm grateful here that I am grandfathered in because I do use this every time I drive the car, and I honestly really love it. I'm not saying it's the best service out there, but there are no commercials. You can skip songs as many times as you want, and I've been giving thumbs ups to the songs I like and thumbs down to the songs I don't like for over 6 years now of driving this thing. And I keep it on favorites radio. So the algorithm for OneLive /Slacker has basically, from all the yeses and nos that I've been telling it over the years, it has got me so dialed in to what is basically a perfect, I call it Ryan radio in my car. Like when we get in my car, it's the stuff I like that plays. So that I just really like. I really enjoy the service. So I'm grateful that I'll be grandfathered in to continue getting it. And by the way, if you are curious, it looks like OneLive is going to be $4 per month or $40 per year if you do want to continue subscribing to it and using it, which isn't too bad in my humble opinion. I mean, it's still $40 on top of the $100 per year or $120 if you're paying monthly, but you're probably paying yearly if you do use the premium connectivity. So it's $40 on top of the $100 a year that you're paying for the premium connectivity. Now, as listener Sean Bloom wrote to me in an email, that he says, that SiriusXM app can't get here soon enough. And boy, Sean, do I agree with you as well. So here to that. Now, to end on a somewhat positive note on this, at least when Tesla does add SiriusXM to our cars, as seems to be inevitable based on the leak that I told you about a few episodes ago, Tesla will have almost every major music service available as a native app in the cars at that point, which just gives lots of options. And that's what we want, right? We want to have lots of options to listen to what we want and on what service we want. Before I continue with the rest of the news this week, and there is plenty more to cover, a friendly reminder that if you are kind enough to support the podcast on Patreon, my page is found at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. You now get ad-free episodes on Patreon at all tiers. The support tiers start at just $5 a month. So for $5 a month, you get an ad-free episode and early access. If you jump up to that most popular $10 a month tier, you get ad-free, early access, and access to all 115 of those weekly lightning round bonus mini episodes. This week's topic was a bunch of possible names I came up with for the Model 2.5, what I think it might really be called. I try to take this thought exercise seriously, so if you're interested in that, check it out on Patreon. Again, patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. I would be humbled and grateful if you would consider supporting what I do week in and week out here on Ride the Lightning. Also, I want to mention my friends by the way, if you're hearing something, it is Mina, this future service dog puppy, chewing on my desk. This very desk that I'm doing the podcast from. And if you're saying, well, why don't you stop her from doing that? She just popped a tooth just now, in fact, as I took a little break between segments there. She's teething, and this desk, Zelina already basically ate this desk, so it's kind of really gone, and she can just, it's fine. She can munch on the corner of the desk if it helps her teeth feel a little bit better for a little while. All right, my friends at Accelerate Auto and their XCare extended warranty plan. If you plan on keeping your Tesla beyond the 4-year, 50,000-mile factory warranty, I do highly encourage you to check out accelerateauto.com and their XCare extended warranty plan. They match everything that Tesla offers with Tesla's own extended warranty plan, which, by the way, theirs is only 2 years, 25,000 miles. That's it. But with XCare, you can go up to 10 years, up to 125,000 additional miles. You can also add battery and drivetrain coverage to your policy as well. Optionally, you don't have to. So there's a lot of flexibility. They offer trip interruption coverage and rental reimbursement, which Tesla doesn't, in addition to a $100 deductible and 24/7 roadside assistance. I've got a 3-year, 40,000-mile XCare plan myself, which I'm very happy with. So check them out if you're interested. There's a discount code of $100 off. So the website to go to is accelerateauto.com/xcare, spelled XCELERATEAUTO.com/XCARE. And don't forget to use the discount code LIGHTNING for that $100 discount off of your purchase. Okay, now on to what was going to be the headline story this week until the big Cybertruck news dropped, and that is Tesla's Q3 production and delivery numbers. I will read you Tesla's typical short and sweet press release, which says, in the third quarter, we produced approximately 470,000 vehicles, delivered approximately 463,000 vehicles, and deployed 6.9 gigawatt hours of energy storage products. And that's it. That's the end of the press release. I already knew this, but you folks out there once again proved how smart and how dialed in to Tesla you all are. I say that because when we did the predictions last week on the Patreon poll, the plurality of you, 38%, voted for what turned out to be the correct choice, because we did predictions, delivery predictions last week on the poll. 38% of you voted for what turned out to be the correct choice, which was 451,000 to 475,000 cars delivered. And I'll give myself a little nod as well. I gotta, why not? Because on last week's episode, on the back of that poll, I gave you my own prediction. I said it would be just over 460,000 deliveries, and it was 463,000. So I will happily take that. Wall Street, however, wasn't as happy. The stock dipped $9 the next day, which is only about 3%, so not a big movement. It went down a little bit more the next day on Thursday, but then Friday it rebounded back a little bit. It's still down a little bit from before the production and delivery numbers were announced and distributed, but not too big of a dip overall. Still managed to not go up. I mean, I just don't understand this. I've said this before. I don't pretend to understand the stock market. Despite the fact that these results were 9% better year over year compared to Q3 of last year in the production department, and 6% better year over year on the delivery side. So they improved over last year, and yet the stock still went down a little bit. And if we compare quarter over quarter, meaning Q2 just 3 months ago to Q3 now, Q3 that just ended, it was 411,000 produced, 444,000 delivered, meaning the numbers were up 14% on production quarter over quarter and up 4% on delivery. So the numbers are better no matter how you slice it. Well, let's dig into this a little more. I want to look specifically at other models, because as we know, Tesla lists, when they give the production and delivery number breakdown, they list 3 and Y combined, and they used to list S and X combined. Now, Cybertruck, at least for the time being, is lumped in with S and X, and it's just listed as other vehicles. Or other models, pardon me. So, if we look at other models, since we know, if we go back year over year, Q3 to these brand new Q3 2024 numbers, 2024 versus 2023 in Q3, that really isolates Cybertruck as much as we possibly can with the numbers we're given, since of course Cybertruck hadn't begun delivering yet in Q3 of last year. So, in Q3 of 2023, S and X was 22,915 deliveries, compared to other models in the Q3 that we just completed here in 2024, 15,985. So there's just no way that Tesla only delivered 7,000 Cybertrucks. 22. I had the quarters flipped. 22,915 in the quarter we just finished, 15,985 last year. So there's just no way that Tesla only delivered 7,000 Cybertrucks in the quarter that we just wrapped up, July, August, September. So therefore, the only thing that I can reasonably take away from this other models number is that, unfortunately, S and X demand appears to be noticeably softer. And that's a real shame, because those cars are so good. You don't need me to say it for the 10,000th time on this podcast. They're both so good. The S in particular, the S Plaid, I've said it 100 times. I think it's the best car in the world overall when you take everything into account. Price, performance, safety, cargo, all that stuff. It is just incredible. And it's just weird to me that S and X demand seemingly continues to soften. For the whole year of 2024 to date so far, I want to take a look at basically where we're heading in Q4. So for the entire year thus far, Tesla is now at 1.313 million cars produced and 1.294 million delivered. Now, the delivery forecast for this year, given Q4 last year, was 1.8 million deliveries for 2024. That's the most important number we want to focus on, deliveries. That means that Tesla is going to need a monster Q4 just to match last year's deliveries. Just to match. Forget about beating it. Just to match. they're going to need to do just over 500,000 cars this quarter. They were within striking distance of doing a 500,000 delivery quarter last year in 2023 when they delivered 484,000 cars in Q4 of 2023. At the end of last year, they wrote this in their shareholder letter, quote, "Our company is currently between two major growth waves. The first one began with the global expansion of the Model 3 and Y platform, and the next one we believe will be initiated by the global expansion of the next generation vehicle platform. In 2024, our vehicle volume growth rate may be notably lower than the growth rate achieved in 2023 as our teams work on the launch of the next generation vehicle at Gigafactory Texas." So where we sit today is it's going to be tough to grow over the 2023 numbers at all. The Cybertruck, as I spent half an hour going through, just entered general production at what is conveniently the very start of Q4. And the weekly run rate on the Cybertruck is going up. But even if Tesla manages to average 2,000 Cybertrucks per week for the quarter, which I think honestly is a reasonable possibility because Tesla did say that they are looking to exit the year at 2,500 per week. So that probably means they're close now, and they'll or at least close to 2,000, and they'll get close to 2,500 by the end. So, okay, I'm saying as a reasonable guess, they're going to average 2,000 trucks per week for the quarter. Well, that's still only around 25,000 or so trucks, give or take 1,000 or two. But here's the thing, that 25,000 or so added on to their previous record quarter from Q4 last year of, again, 484,000 trucks, which they had essentially zero Cybertrucks then. There were like 100 maybe at the most. That would put them over 500,000 if they do the same 484 they did last year and throw on another 25,000 worth of Cybertrucks. That would put them over 500K and get them to at least match the 1.8 million deliveries that they had last year. So I do think a 500,000 delivery quarter is possible this quarter. And in the long run, it's inevitable, of course, as Cybertruck production continues to ramp. And don't forget, there are more vehicles in the pipeline, like the aforementioned Model 2.5, that will make a 500,000 car quarter look like nothing in a few years' time. But for the time being, it's just a matter of when, not if, they hit 500,000 quarters. The when, it's will it be right now or will it be sometime next year? The earnings call will happen on October 23rd. So that means on episode 482 in 3 weeks from now, I will have my typical quarterly recap, highlights, and analysis episode. But I will make one optimistic prediction based on the data that we have right now. Because Tesla needs a monster quarter, a record quarter, to even get close to where they want to go for the forecast for this year, I think Tesla will continue to offer some really nice incentives like we saw in Q3, like the 1.99% APR financing on the 3 and on the Y, like the free paint color with FSD purchase on the Model 3 Performance, so that you can get any configuration of that car you want and still get the point-of-sale $7,500 tax credit, and an incentive like the free paid option of your choice on the long-range Model X if you purchase FSD. So I think there's a really good chance that we will see those sweet, sweet incentives come back again for Q4. We will find out very soon, probably in the next couple weeks, certainly before October is out. We will know if Tesla is going to do those for this quarter again or not. Next this week, I want to give some massive credit to the Tesla AI team as they delivered FSD for the Cybertruck on the last day of September, September 30th, after they had previously made public announcements that it was due to be delivered in that just completed month. Now, we often, as a Tesla community, we lament when these publicly given deadlines get missed, often by Elon. It's become, as we know, kind of a running joke. But this deadline wasn't given by Elon. It was given by the Tesla AI team. And they hit it. And this was a really, really big thing to hit. So let's celebrate them for it. Bravo to the Tesla AI team. And this is no doubt took a ton of hard work to get done. I mean, it was certainly more than 10 months, assuming that they started on FSD for the Cybertruck even before the first production Cybertrucks were built. And the day has finally come. And not only did the Cybertruck get FSD, but the Cybertruck got version 12.5.5, which includes full end-to-end neural nets on the highway as well as in the city, putting it a release ahead of the rest of the fleet, which is only deserved at this point for those Cybertruck owners who've been waiting so long for this. It very quickly went wide to all 30-something thousand Cybertrucks out there. And remember, too, every Cybertruck sold up till now that general production has started, but every Cybertruck currently on the road has FSD prepaid on it. So that means that Tesla added a pretty meaningful chunk of vehicles to the active FSD fleet overnight. They added like 30-something thousand more vehicles into that FSD fleet. I will tell you that early videos from some of the folks that got it first, like I'll shout out Chuck Cook, he of the famous Chuck's Unprotected Left Turn. Well, Chuck and some others recorded their first drives with 12.5.5 in their Cybertrucks. And Chuck, and I'm going to single Chuck out because I think Chuck is pretty level-headed and he's not afraid to call out the good and the bad. I've also met him in person a number of times. He's a really good guy, very level-headed guy. Chuck was really impressed by some of the decisions and the maneuvers that 12.5.5 made in his Cybertruck. And something else to keep in mind that's maybe a little silly, but it's just fun to point out. This is quite literally the biggest passenger vehicle to ever get FSD by Tesla or any other company, by the way, because Waymo, that has the driverless robo-taxis in San Francisco and Chandler, Arizona, and not sure if they're in one or two other places, but Waymo uses the Jaguar I-Pace. Well, that car is not small, but it's also not nearly as big as the Cybertruck is. So that's a fun little fact in and of itself, that the Cybertruck is now the largest self-driving passenger vehicle in the world, which is neat. And it's also neat that these big old full-size trucks can now park themselves and drive themselves in a pretty darn advanced and sophisticated way, based on what I've seen in these videos so far. Now, this also means that now that general production has begun on the Cybertruck, anyone that orders FSD with their truck, takes advantage of that $7,000 offer, will have it right at delivery. They're not going to have to wait weeks and months for it like all the Foundation Series folks did. And by the way, the prediction that I'd been holding on to for most of the last year since the Cybertruck launched and we found out that the first ones were all going to be Foundation Series, that prediction of mine came pretty close to coming true. I had thought that every single 2024 model year Cybertruck, since Tesla's model years, they turn over in early November, they go November to November, I'd said that I thought that every 2024 Cybertruck would be a Foundation Series and that general production would start with 2025 models. Well, I came within a month. I came pretty close on that one, so I don't know if how I'll score that when I do my end of year, / New Year's predictions for the new year and score myself on the previous year predictions. All right, while we're talking about the Tesla AI team, by the way, here's more good news. They announced that legacy Model S's and Model X's will get actual Smart Summon in the next 3 months. Tesla's AI lead, Ashok Elaswamy, confirmed that the classic S and X owners will not, in fact, be getting left behind on Tesla's newest parking technology. He responded to a user on X saying, quote, "Actually, Smart Summon will come to legacy S and X in Q4. Hey, that's now. That's good news. In fact, it's great news for those of you with pre-2021 S's and X's. And seriously, I'm so happy and glad that Tesla is still delivering meaningful new features for cars as old as 2016. I mean, think about that. 8 years. You can have an 8-year-old Tesla and your car still gets better from time to time than it was the day that you took delivery of it. Also, I would say, this bodes well for those of us with, say, for example, 2018 Model 3s, that we will still be getting good stuff for at least the next couple years on our cars. Huge credit again to the Tesla AI team for making all this happen. That team deserves a break. Like, can we give them a paid vacation? Just like shut the office down for a couple weeks and let these folks take a victory lap, take a breather with their families. Cybertruck, FSD, actual Smart Summon for everybody, and later this quarter for legacy S and X owners. Just awesome stuff on this. All right, I've got one more news story. Yes, it's still going here. One more news story this week. A new report says that Tesla is working on 4 dry cathode 4680 battery variants. Saw this one on Teslarati, who writes, "A recent report from The Information has claimed that Tesla is looking to introduce 4 variants of dry cathode 4680 cells, which would be used for several vehicles. The new batteries are reportedly expected to be introduced by 2026. Citing people reportedly familiar with the matter, The Information claimed that Tesla is reportedly pushing forward with its dry cathode 4680 battery plans despite the challenges it has faced with the next generation cells. These batteries are reportedly codenamed NC05, NC20, NC30, and NC50. Each type of dry cathode battery is reportedly designed for different purposes. The publication claimed that the NC05 battery would be a, quote, workhorse of sorts, and it would power the upcoming robotaxi, which is expected to be unveiled on October 10th, this coming week. The NC05 will also reportedly go into some Cybertrucks, the Semi, and another yet-to-be-announced vehicle. The NC20 dry cathode battery, on the other hand, will reportedly pack more energy, and it would be used for an SUV, the Cybertruck, and other future vehicles. The NC30 and NC50 dry cathode batteries will reportedly introduce silicon carbon into the anodes, which can hold more lithium than conventional anodes. Tesla will reportedly use the NC30 for vehicles like the Cybertruck and an all-electric sedan, while the NC50 would reportedly be used for vehicles that are focused on performance, such as the next-generation Tesla Roadster. Well, I wonder if the N in NC is nickel and the C might be cadmium. Maybe it's the nickel content in each dry cathode battery. Because the more nickel, I mean, it makes sense. The more performance-oriented batteries are going to have more nickel in them. I'm no battery engineer, but I've learned that much from covering Tesla over the years. I will add, I can't verify the authenticity of this report. I think I phrased it fairly there with a lot of reportedlys and allegedlys and rumor, but we have heard from The Information before as a source, and on top of that, all of this just sounds quite plausible. Like, it does pass the sniff test to me. I mean, not to mention, it's pretty detailed. Not to say that someone couldn't make up a highly detailed report like this, but generally with these kind of details, it adds a little bit of believability to it, so we'll see. I mean, it does certainly make sense that Tesla is going to continue down the dry cathode path. because it uses less materials, it increases manufacturing efficiency, and thus lowers costs. It also makes sense that Tesla would, in this case with 4 dry cathode variants, quadruple down on their own in-house cells, these 4680 cells, although I do have to remind myself that they do have Panasonic gearing up to make 4680s for them as well, and they're going to need every cell that they can get their hands on as the product portfolio continues to expand and they have more cars, higher volumes, and need more cells. I mean, they're still going to need every 2170 cell that they can get for the Model 3 and, at least for now, the Model Y. I mean, even though the Model Y has experimented with 4680s before. Side note, personally, I think the Y will probably stay with the 2170, if only because this is their big money maker. Tesla's not going to want to mess with it. And right now, the Model Y is so high volume, and it's likely to stay that way for a while. And Panasonic has already got the 2170s cranking out full capacity, full volume at Giga Nevada. So it probably makes sense to not mess with that and just keep putting the 2170 cells into the 3s and the Ys. But I guess we can't rule out Tesla ramping up the 4680s enough in order to supply, say, potentially the Juniper fleet, the refreshed Model Y, maybe even doing that themselves or possibly with an assist from Panasonic, who, as I just mentioned, is going to be making 4680 cells for Tesla. Anyway, the Cybercab is apparently going to be built, at least we've been told, it will be built using this new unboxing manufacturing process. So yeah, for the Cybercab, it makes sense to basically custom design a battery cell that's a good fit for that car. The Cybertruck is already living proof of this. The Cybertruck already has the Cybercell, as Tesla's been calling it, so it's already got its own battery. And then NC20, NC30 for mid-tier cars in terms of size, capabilities, range. And then, yes, NC50 for the Roadster, and maybe, this is just speculation obviously on my part, maybe Tesla switches the Plaids over to NC50 4680 cells if Tesla wants to eventually move those cars off of the Panasonic 18650 cells that they've been using for the past, well, in the Model S's case, 12 years. I mean, the NC50 can basically, as the story notes, it can be maximized for ultimate performance at the expense of all else. Basically, if it were like a video game, like a character creator in NBA 2K or something, you'd push the sliders all the way to the right on the NC50 variant of the dry cathode 4680 cell. I want performance maxed out at the expense of everything else. Now, if indeed this report's accurate, I don't imagine we will hear about this at the Cybercab event coming up this week, but maybe Tesla will do another Battery Day event sometime next year, 2025, to go into it in way more detail after they've announced the Cybercab, maybe after they've announced the Model 2.5, and knock on wood, crossing my fingers, hopefully after they've re-announced the next-gen Tesla Roadster as well. All right, that is everything I've got for you in what, as you just heard, was an incredibly busy week of Tesla news. Stick with me. I do want to do a few of your phone calls because I know a lot of you really like that segment. So I've got some good ones teed up. Stay tuned for those right after this.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Welcome to the Ride the Lightning hotline, your chance to call in and possibly be featured here on the podcast. If you've got a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic, drop me a line. There are two easy ways to do it. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question, please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many calls each week as possible. Email that file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and just call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. It's a toll-free number you can call anytime, and that number is 1-888-989-8752. Again, that's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. First up this week is Jonathan from Atlanta, adding on to Michael's call from last week about locking himself out of his older Model S.
Thanks again, Ryan, for taking my call. Excellent podcast, long-time listener, definitely not first-time caller. Anyway, just wanted to kind of add to Michael, who called in about locking himself out of his older Model S when he was camping. I did the same thing in my 2018 Model 3, where I was also camping and went to use the showers, and I had my phone in my clothes bag along with my wallet. And when I camp, I usually use the frunk. And so when I got out of the showers, I put my bag, again, with my wallet and my phone, I put it in the frunk and shut the frunk, and quickly realized, oh my gosh, I don't know how to get in my car. So another tip, if that happens to anybody and they lock themselves out, I just borrowed a fellow camper's phone, downloaded the app, entered in my credentials, unlocked my car, and then deleted the app from his phone. So just another tip, pro tip, so to speak, for any Tesla owners who find themselves locked out of their car. This is Jonathan from Atlanta.
Jonathan, that is a fantastic follow-up pro tip. I'm going to play this, I just played it as a regular call since it piggybacks right on what we were talking about with last week's pro tip of the week. So nice job thinking on your feet in your situation, and thank you for sharing that solution. Next up, here's Bob calling in with a feature suggestion that, well, I couldn't agree more here. Go ahead, Bob.
This is Bob in Cocoa. The reason I'm calling is I would like to see Tesla add a handhold at the top of the roof line, so that somebody that's handicapped like myself will be able to grab it and help them get into especially a Model 3 or even a Model Y, but especially the Model 3. And maybe Tesla could offer retrofits at their store if they like the idea. But basically, there's no handhold there, and it's a lot more difficult for me to get in the cars without one, me being handicapped. But thank you very much. Bye.
Bob, I completely agree with you here. The fact of the matter is the Model 3 is a pretty low car, so I completely empathize with you here. My cousin Pat, some years ago, had broken his leg. For a while, he couldn't drive his Model S, which, by the way, the S is also a low car, at all. But even after he recovered, he had a lot of trouble getting in and out because it was just tough for him to get some extra support on the car to assist with the process of ingress and egress. I know that Tesla's all about minimalism and their whole the best part is no part mantra, but you're absolutely right that it is a matter of accessibility for plenty of folks out there. If they're not going to ship a handle with the cars, which I guess I can understand from their side, they should at least offer it as an upgrade that you can add at a service center after delivery, the same way that you can buy, say, the HomeLink garage door opener for the Model 3 or Model Y after delivery and have Tesla install it. Now, just for due diligence, I reached out to my friends at abstractocean.com about this to see if they had anything that you could buy as an aftermarket accessory, and they told me, and I did get permission to share this quote, the response was, "We've looked at this in the past, as I'm sure others have, and we've all reached the same conclusion. Typically, those handles are bolted to the subframe because they need to take a lot of load. But if the car isn't designed for that, it's a problem. In Tesla's case, the curtain airbags are installed in that general area, so it makes it near impossible to come up with a solution that's practical and doesn't interfere with the safety systems," end quote. So it looks like Tesla would have to basically rethink the cars a little bit on the design side to bake it in during manufacturing. I wish I had better news to give you, Bob, but nevertheless, I wish you a million happy miles in your Model 3. Thank you very much for calling. And the final call that I've got time for this week comes from Stuart in Australia, responding to the story from last week about a possible 6-seat Model Y around the end of next year.
G'day, Ryan. Stuart from Ballarat, Australia here. Excuse the background noise. I'm listening to the podcast in the gym, and I was just listening to you talk about the 6-seater Model Y for China, knowing that all Model Ys for Australia come out of the China factory. You've made an assumption that the layout of the 6-seater will be the same as in the Model X. However, it could very well be like a lot of other Chinese vehicles where you have 3 seats in the front and a middle row of 3 seats getting you to 6. Not sure if that's a possibility, but maybe we're coming at this from the wrong angle. Thanks for the program.
Hi, Stuart. Thank you for your call. I admit that I hadn't considered that possibility, but if Tesla wasn't going to implement that in the Cybertruck, remember, it was in the Cybertruck prototype, and a lot of people were excited about the prospect of a 2-row, 6-seat Cybertruck. But if Tesla didn't do it in the production Cybertruck, then I'm not sure that they would go there in the Y, particularly when you take into account the fact that the Model Y isn't as wide as the Cybertruck, thus meaning that each person in a hypothetical bench seat 3 across situation in the first row of the Model Y would have less hip room than they would if Tesla had gone ahead with this in the truck. Now, I'm not dismissing your thought here by any means. I think it's an interesting possibility to consider. Sadly, though, it sounds like if that Reuters report that I told you about last week is accurate, which I trust that it is, we are going to have to wait about a year to find out. Thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you to everybody that kindly took the time to call in. Keep those calls coming. I gave you the 2 easy call-in methods at the top of this segment, so refer back to that if you'd like to call in and possibly be featured here on Ride the Lightning. Let me move right along here to the Spirit of Adventure section of the podcast. This is where I tell you what, if anything, that I've been up to with my car. Well, I want to talk for just a minute about the new FSD supervised version, at least the newest one as of this recording, in my Model 3, which is 12.5.4. And I just had a couple of, these aren't really micro thoughts, these are more macro thoughts. And I was thinking about it over the course, because I've been driving it a lot this week and using it a lot. And I have to say, I spent years perfecting my grip on the steering wheel to get just the right amount of torque to keep that steering wheel nag from popping up on the screen. So now I have to completely reprogram myself to just sit there. Just sit there with my arms with neither arm doing anything, since now 12.5.4 works with sunglasses. So I don't have to just wait till nighttime to use it when it can see my eyes. I can use 12.5.4 hands-free all the time. You know, in fact, I was telling my wife when we were driving with 12.5.4 activated last weekend, and I was telling her, you know, it's weird for me to go from having at least a hand on the wheel to being completely hands-free. And she surprised me a little bit. She said to me, well, you know, it's weird for me too, in the passenger seat, to look over at you and see you not doing anything at all. I don't know if any of you have encountered that, both yourself or with a spouse that may often ride with you. But yeah, that was just an interesting little exchange that we had while we were in the car last weekend. I'll give it one other big bit of credit this week too. So you all know I live in San Francisco. I've talked many times over the last few years with the FSD beta that San Francisco, I'm not saying it's the most difficult city to drive in or anything like that, but it is a city full of weird edge cases. Just lots of little strange turns and roads and intersections and one-ways and cars parked on the street on a two-way street, and so you only one can get by at a time. Just all sorts of strange configurations to the roads and different problems that a self-driving system would encounter. Well, I'll tell you what, today I went from one corner of the city to the opposite corner. And there's no direct way to do that. You are just taking a bunch of weird surface streets. There's no like highway that just bisects San Francisco to zip you across really quick. So I turned it on right from one corner of the city, and I was like, let's see how it does. And it made it the entire way without doing anything silly, doing anything that made me want to intervene. It made it the entire way, and it encountered times where there was like a car stopped in front of me because it was turning left, and it found a gap in the next lane to the right, and it made the lane change over, and it went around the car. And like, it was the most I'll put it this way. This is going to sound like a big statement, but it is. I'm going to give it credit. Today, I had the best FSD drive I've ever had. Now, I expect that's something I'll continue to say, and I guess that's something I could have continued to say over the last few years, but San Francisco, for me, again, I haven't driven it in many other cities, but San Francisco, for me, has been something of a torture test for FSD because of all those strange edge cases and just all these weird things. I mean, I'm talking, it went like up and then down a big hill, one of the classic big San Francisco hills. And and I had my foot like on the brake, right? I was like, is this thing going to just fly over this hill way too fast? No, it did. It handled it beautifully. Is it going to go too quick at the bottom of the hill and bottom the car out? Nope. I mean, it was just a really I don't think I've ever let it go across the city like that. I mean, I've tried in past versions, but at some point it would either do something wrong, do something stupid, or just do something where like there was another car and my car wasn't acting with enough, determination, and I just would intervene and take over. No, I had the best FSD drive I've ever had in San Francisco, which again, torture test as far as I'm concerned. So just really impressive. And it's pretty wild to think back. Again, sometimes I have to do that thing where I pull back to the 10,000 foot view and I go, well, remember when I first got the FSD beta? In fact, we're coming up on, it's been just about 3 years. It was October of 21. So 3 years now. And at that very beginning, it was scary in a bad way. Like it was, compared to now, and it's pretty incredible. It's really, really pretty incredible. I want to flag one thing, and I'm not trying to negate everything I just said, but one thing to flag, and I hope that this gets adjusted over time. On one drive, on 12.5.4, so that sunglasses were okay, I had a hat on. I had a baseball cap on, as I often do on weekends, since when I'm out walking the dog, I need to shield as much of myself as possible from the sun because I've had skin cancer and I don't want any more. And so I had a hat on, and I looked down to briefly check something. It might have been like a text that came through on my watch. I know I should have just waited for it to pop on the screen. Whatever it was, I know I promise it wasn't my phone. I don't look at my phone when the car is moving in the car. I don't do that. But I'm not going to completely absolve myself of blame. I looked down at something, and so the brim of the hat, the bill of the hat, blocked the camera for just a couple seconds. And then when I looked back up, it said something like, eyes obscured by headwear, attention monitoring disabled. And what happened then is it didn't disengage FSD, but I had to go back to torquing the wheel. I had to go back to putting a hand on the wheel and keeping a little bit of turning force on that wheel in order for it to continue on without giving me the blue autopilot flashing screen nag. So I thought, okay, well, can I just disengage full self-driving and then re-engage? Nope, that didn't work. So apparently you have to put the car in park and start a new drive to get it back if a hat has blocked your eyes for even a couple seconds, has blocked the system from seeing your eyes for even a couple seconds. And to me, that might be a bit harsh, because people wear hats in cars and sometimes your head looks in different directions. So I hope Tesla's just being overly cautious with this in these are the very first days of having hands-free FSD. So, whether it's like give me 3 strikes on that before I have to go back to keeping my hand on the wheel, right? So if anybody else has encountered this, feel free to email me or message me on social media if you get a chance. But that was my one, again, not a bad experience with 12.5.4, just something where, I see Tesla erring on the side of caution, and I thought, well, it was maybe a little harsh. So anyway, that's my FSD experience from this week. It has been the best week of FSD ever in the time. I paid for it 6 years ago. I paid $8,000 for it over 6 years ago, and it has been well worth it. It is now really, really, really starting to pay off. Pro tip of the week time. Here's Johnny from Ontario.
Hey, Ryan and fellow Tesla fanboys. My name is Johnny. I'm calling from Drayton, Ontario. I'm sitting in my brand new 2024 Tesla Model 3 Fresh, and I upgraded from a 2019 Standard Range Plus, and anyone who's thinking to make the jump, do it. It's such an amazing car. The older ones were great, but the 3 Fresh is unbelievable how good of a car it is. Anyways, I'm calling with the pro tip of the week. For anybody out there who is like me, both a Tesla enthusiast and an aviation enthusiast, if you go to your navigation and you happen to know the airport code of where you're traveling to, simply type in that code. So for me here in Southwestern Ontario, we use Pearson out of Toronto. So I would type in CYYZ and it takes right to Pearson International Airport. For anyone down there in the United States, you guys would just put in your 3-digit code. So Ryan, you would put in SFO and hit navigate, and it'll take you right to San Francisco Airport. It's a little easier than typing it all out, save you a few seconds as you go. That's it. A little nerdy, but thought you guys would like it. Keep up the great work, and happy EV motoring to all your listeners out there. Take care.
I didn't know this one, Johnny. Thank you very much. I love this. I appreciate your call. By the way, I've always wondered this. Is the Rush song YYZ, I love Rush, by the way, is YYZ named after the airport, or is it the other way around? Great song, lot of fond memories of playing that song and other Rush songs in the phenomenal video game Rock Band with my coworkers back in my official Xbox magazine days. Did you know, you probably didn't because I've never shared this little anecdote, we took a storage closet and converted it into what we called the Rock Band room. We put up soundproofing on the walls, cleared it out, put in a TV. We had a drum stool and an Xbox, and we had ourselves a Rock Band room, and we would rock out at the end of the day. I wish I could go back in time to those days. Those were good times. In fact, some of those good times were that the developers of Rock Band, Harmonix, put the entire Moving Pictures album by Rush in the game. So much fun to play in the game. I can't play a real instrument, but man, is Rock Band fun. Anyway, cheers, Johnny. Thank you very much. And if anybody else out there has a good Tesla pro tip of the week, I would absolutely love to hear it so that I can add to my own knowledge base and share it with all of you, my fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts out there. So if you've got a pro tip of the week, you can send it in the same way that you call in with a regular Ride the Lightning hotline call, which I gave you the instructions for just a few minutes ago. I know it's already been a 90-minute show this week, but before I go, I want to mention a couple friends of Ride the Lightning that hopefully can be helpful to you sooner or later. I'll start with AbstractOcean.com. They've got a million different great aftermarket accessories, including, I'm told, just this week, a screen protector for the Cybertruck. Yes, the same custom fit Gorilla Glass antimicrobial coating screen protector. So something to keep in mind if you are now ordering your general production Cybertruck. And of course, for those of you out there who already have the Foundation series, they've also got those tempered glass screen protectors for all 4 of the other Teslas. They've got all kinds of great lighting accessories and just a ton of great stuff. Check them out, abstractocean.com. And when you see something you like, throw it in your online shopping cart. Keep doing that until you're ready to check out. And then when you check out, use the coupon code RTLPodcast to get 15% off of your first order. That's RTL Podcast, all one word, no spaces. If you want or legally need a front license plate on your Tesla, I very much recommend the Snap Plate, or if you prefer, the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus, available again for Cybertruck as well as the other 4 Teslas. Get yours at everyamp.com/RTL and use the coupon code RTL as well for a discount. This is the front license plate bracket that's a nice minimalist design, but when it's on there securely, but you can take it off without it leaving anything behind. Unlike the front license plate bracket that Tesla gives you with your car, which sticks to the front of the vehicle with automotive adhesive, meaning if you ever want to take it off, it's going to be a bad time. So I do genuinely recommend the Snap Plate. Get yours at everyamp.com/RTL. Don't forget the coupon code RTL for a discount. BudgetSafeSolar.com. Check them out if you are considering solar for your home or business or both. Keep them on your short list. I'm sure you are going to have several companies on that list, including Tesla probably. And it worked out for me with Budget Safe Solar. They gave me a great setup that matched what I wanted within the limitations of my home. So I got as much juice, as much production as I could get out of my narrow San Francisco home and the accompanying roof that doesn't have a lot of real estate to put a ton of panels on there. So I'm really happy with what they did for me. They can hopefully do the same for you if you're interested. So check them out, budgetsafesolar.com. Don't forget, they do also offer home battery storage. So if you'd like that new Tesla Powerwall version 3 as part of your solar setup, they can hook that up for you. Immaculate Reflections. If you are in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area with a car that you love, whether it's your Tesla or something else fun in your garage, I cannot recommend Immaculate Reflections enough. That car will come back from Immaculate Reflections looking better than it ever has. Whether you want to do paint correction, get that finish looking awesome, you want to do paint protection film to protect said paint as much as possible, maybe you want to do ceramic coating because you're tired of waxing your car twice a year to protect the finish. Well, ceramic coating lasts 3 to 5 years or more. So check him out. irdetailing.com is the website. He's also on Instagram. The username there is immaculate_reflections. You can see examples of their work. So check them out. And when you reach out, which the way to do, I guess you could message them on Instagram as well. But if you reach out through the website, irdetailing.com, make sure to mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener, and any work that you do book in there will have a Ride the Lightning listener discount applied. Very grateful to Jeff at Immaculate Reflections for continuing to offer that to the Ride the Lightning audience. Finally this week, I mentioned it briefly earlier, but that was a while ago now because this has been a long show. So I would be humbled and grateful if you would take a look at my Patreon page, which is found at patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Patreon is spelled Patreon. There is a link to it in the show description as well, the episode description. And as you know, this podcast is free. It's always been free for 479 episodes and counting. But I do really count on your support in order to really justify the continuation of this podcast. It is your support that keeps it going, is the simpler way to say that. So if you enjoy the podcast, you get a lot out of it each week, you find it informative, maybe even a little entertaining, I would really be grateful if you'd consider a Patreon pledge. Again, all tiers of the Patreon now get the ad-free version of this podcast. So hopefully that's a nice little perk that might incentivize you a little more. The $10, so that's starting at that $5 a month tier. You'll get no ads, and you will get, meaning you won't hear this because you'll already be supporting me. You'll get no ads, and you'll get early access to each week's show as well. Step up to that most popular tier. That's the $10 per month tier. Then you'll get early access, no ads, and the entire catalog of those 115 and counting weekly lightning round mini episodes that I do exclusively on Patreon. So again, patreon.com/Tesla podcast. Also, the referral program is back. If you're a first-time Tesla buyer, because if you already have a Tesla, you can't refer yourself and no one else can refer you. You just make sure to buy the car, your next Tesla, on the same account that you already have your existing one, and you'll get the $1,000 discount. But if you're a first-time Tesla buyer, please use my referral link and you will get $1,000 off your new Tesla. That's SX3 or Y, not Cybertruck, but SX3 or Y. So the thing to do is type my referral link into a browser on either your desktop or a mobile device. That link is ts.la/Ryan73014. Again, this will be in the episode description as well. That'll take you to the Tesla website where you can choose which of those 4 models you want to buy. Then from there, you configure that car however you see fit, submit your order, and that $1,000 discount will be applied. I do have to remind you, you must order through the referral link in order to get the discount. Tesla's made it very clear they will not retroactively apply those discounts if you do not order through a referral link. So feel free to use mine to get that $1,000 off your Tesla. You can follow me on X and or Instagram. My username is the same on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can email me anytime, teslapodcast@gmail.com. And before I go, I want to say thank you and shout out the top tier Patreon backers. I want to start with the Roadster in Space tier. These are the folks that get everything. They get no ads, early access, the lightning rounds each and every week, the standing invite to the monthly group Zoom hangout, which is going to happen this coming Saturday right after the Robotaxi event. So if you'd like to join us, you can sign up for the Patreon at the appropriate tier, which is the maximum plaid tier. And then the Roadster in Space folks also get a monthly one-on-one hangout with me, should they elect to take it. And some of them do. Some of them catch up with me from time to time. Whatever you want to do, it's all good. I love talking Tesla with you guys. The newest Roadster in Space tier backer, he is upgraded from a lower pledge because there's nowhere higher to go. Michael Gallo. Michael, thank you so much for your very generous pledge upgrade. I look forward to chatting with you. And thanks to the rest of the Roadster in Space tier backers, who are Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, Kristen Rumble, American Home Contractors, GetAmber.com, Doug Carey, and Rav. Next, I will indeed say thank you to those Maximum Plaid backers who I am very much looking forward to chatting with next Saturday. We're going to do it next Saturday. Again, just a couple days after that Robotaxi event. It will be fresh on everyone's mind. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think of it. You'll be able to ask me about stuff from the event that maybe I didn't mention on the podcast if there was some specific question you had. So I think it's going to be a particularly, they're always fun, these hangouts every month, but I think this one will be a little extra awesome, if I may predict that. So thank you very much to all the Maximum Plaid backers. They are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Adam Christie, Damon Klein, and Jeff Brown. And finally, a big hello and thank you to the Plaid level supporters. The Plaid tier is officially retired, but these kind and generous folks continue to very nicely support me at that tier to this day. And for that, I am very thankful. And so they get all the perks and bonuses that they should get. So thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. All right, I won't linger on with some random stream of consciousness thought here. This has been a long episode. I want to be respectful of your time. So all I'll say is this. I am so excited for next week's episode. I'm so pumped to get down to LA to see the Cybercab and whatever else Tesla may or may not show there. I'm excited to hopefully get a ride in the Cybercab. I know the lines will be long. Like I know at the Cybertruck unveiling in 2019, not everybody got a ride at that one. In fact, Kaz was with me, and he didn't end up getting a ride, and I felt terrible that they cut the line off and they didn't get to everybody. So fingers crossed I will get my Cybercab test ride, assuming they're doing them. But I'm so excited for this, and then I will be very excited to put a podcast together for you, recapping it, analyzing it, trying to share the experience of what it was like to be there. Super stoked for next week's podcast. That'll be episode 480. So, until then, happy electric motoring, my friends, and I'll see you very soon.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.